Hi, I'm Olivia Cusson. I'm an IFMGA guide, and I'm going to talk about how to escape the belay. I'm clipped in right now to the shelf of my anchor, which opens up my master point and gives me a lot of space to work with. I'm also clipped in relatively short, so when I'm weighted, I can still reach my anchor. Escaping the belay is the first step of the rock rescue scenario. Belaying off of your harness is a rather contrived way to do it. We generally don't do this when we're belaying, but it's also the hardest way to get out of the system, and so that's why they test you on it. So I'm going to clip my climber into my belay device. And now, assuming the climber has fallen and needs to be rescued, I need to get out of this system. So the first thing I do is I'm going to tie off my belay device and make it hands-free. In order to do that, this device breaks back, so I need to maintain the backward orientation of the rope. I'm going to do that by pulling it through the carabiner. And you can notice I'm just pinching. It doesn't take a lot of strength to hold on to this because I've got the belay device in the system. I pull a good amount of slack through, and that allows me to work with a single strand. And it's not as confusing as having two pieces of rope there. And now I'm going to tie a mule hitch. And the way you tie the mule is you make a loop. This strand is on top, and what that's going to do is when I come around, I'm going to capture these other two strands. So loop with this strand on top, come around, captures the other two strands, and I put a bight of rope through. And notice how tight I'm keeping this up against the device. That way it's not going to slip. I pull a good amount of tail through and then tie that off, just a simple overhand knot. So now I'm hands-free. Now what I need to do is transfer the load from myself onto the anchor. And how I'm going to do that is take a cordelette. I'm going to make any number of different friction rope grabs here would work, but I'm going to make a prusik. And then dress it up. I'm going to tie a knot here because this will give me some options for other steps down the road, and it's not going to get in my way at this point. So there I have a prusik with my cordelette onto the rope. I'm going to bring this back and clip it into the master point of my anchor. Tie a mule or a munter hitch. Lock it up. I'm going to flip this into the lowering position and then cinch it up. Now I want to make sure to get all that slack out. By flipping it into the lower position, I'm minimizing my slack when I go to release it later. I'm going to tie another mule to tie off that munter. Now, unlike the ATC, the munter hitch breaks forward, so I don't have to do that step of passing it back through. And then an alternate way to tie off the mule is, rather than pulling a bunch of slack and making an overhand, when you're using a cordelette, you can just pass the tails through. So now I have this backed up on to the anchor, but I'm still in the system. So I want to, that's Josephine's input. Still in the system, so I want to get myself out of here. So I'm going to tie another munter hitch, starting to detect a pattern here. Lock it up. I'm not going to tie that off yet because I'm going to untie my original mule, and I want to just get this real close and then pop it. I'm going to bring it through the carabiner again. So now I have all this slack that I can suck up through my new munter. I'm going to lower onto the cordelette, and then once I get it onto the cordelette, and I've got it backed up here with my munter, I can take this device out. Now I'm going to suck up the rest of the slack, flip it into the lower again, get rid of all the extra slack, tie yet another mule, pull a bunch of tail through for my backup knot, and tie it off. And I am out of the system, so I've escaped the belay.